Hello, everybody. This is Christy Whitman with the Quantum Success Show, where you can get your information and inspiration to create your desires. And as you can see, I have a lady next to me. She is a dear friend, and this is the amazing Dr. Janet Bieschke. And she is a QSCA, Law of Attraction certified coach. She is often referred to as the end-of-life coach, which we'll explain to you in a little bit. But she brings experience, knowledge, and practical ideas to families seeking guidance and comfort, where anxieties and fears and frustrations and damaged relationships and poor communication skills have tainted the final days for the dying person and their families. So Janet's engagement brings information and guidance and suggestions and ease in ways that allow peace and healing and beautiful closure to those approaching death and to those who love and care about them. She is the author of, so proud of you, I'm Sorry, I Love You, Goodbye, Harvesting the Sacred Gifts of the Final Days. And in looking back, Janet was honored to be one of my students, in the very first fall of 2008 QSCA class. So it is just an honor to have you here, and I am just so excited to chat with you about all that's going on in your life. So welcome, Janet.
Thank you, Christy. It is so good to be here, and I just love being in the midst of all of your high energy people that you are working with and attracting. So thank you.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So let's talk about before you found the QSCA, before you were the ones, one of the first people in that very first class. What was your life like before that?
Well, it was extremely different in the sense that my whole life had been working in an operational management job, which meant it was all about logistics and bottom lines and budgets and safety and health and labor and all of those things of managing. I started out as loading and unloading trucks, but for the post office, and then went into supervision, and then went into a postmaster job, and then here I was when I retired. I had actually been in charge of hundreds of offices and thousands of employees, so I knew how to get things done, but I did that from here versus here. Or when I incorporated the heart thinking, it was thinking, it wasn't feeling. And so I was really good at thinking things through, logically accomplishing all of that. Then I retired, and I knew I wanted to give back. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a hospice volunteer. Let me just check into that. And that was just about the same time I noticed this QSCA. Actually, I was looking for something in the line of coaching because that was something that I wanted to do. And I came across your link, and lo and behold, here I was registered, yay, for your first class. And oh my gosh, I just love how this whole course has evolved over time, how you keep improving and expanding and adjusting it and making it so fit with technology and with the times, and how it's constantly evolving, as are we. And right. I love it. I love all of that. Awesome. So when I came into your class and I started working with emotions, now I could have gone out with anyone and they would have said, Janet, what are you feeling? And I would have thought, nothing. I had learned to put up those walls so high and those barriers so strong that I shut off my emotions and didn't even realize it. And I was operating from this whole brain, whatever that was, and that served me well then, but not so well when I got into some of the other things in life, the softer skills. So it was really helpful for me to get into, okay, what am I feeling? What do I want? What am I feeling? How do I want to feel? You just opened up a whole other avenue for me. And it's really, then it worked with what I was doing with hospice and what I was to go through with my mother and her dementia. I mean, she had her stroke literally the week that we had our first class. So and we didn't know at the time that she was dealing with dementia, but that unfolded over the course of the next decade, and it worked well with my hospice too. It just aligned to where what I was doing at work and what I was dealing with family and what I was learning in your class, both as a student and then as a mentor, it just kept aligning and aligning and aligning. And as you always say, alignment first and then momentum. And I kind of held back in some of that because I wasn't sure what type of a coach I wanted to be. And I didn't realize that that was still developing and forming, and that was, it was to be to be announced, and it had to be developed, and that was part of my alignment because I had to learn that feeling. I had to learn vibrational energy. I had to learn to work with the laws of attraction, and to bring that in with my spirituality and all of the other things that were already there, but looking at it through a new lens. And you were amazing in helping me do that. So
Well,
thank you.
thank you. I always say that I always utilize you as an example because, you would take the QSCA and then you're like, what's next? And then, there'd be Light Body. And then you'd be like, what's next? You were always my next, what's next? What's next? And you kept me on my toes. Like, okay, she wants to continue. And not only you, but there was a group of you that wanted to continue and learn more about and go deeper and deeper. And it's just, so I always say, so many gratitude prayers for you, Janet, because you were my what next girl, my what next woman. And it allowed me to help grow and expand and be creative and go to the next level. And I always say, what would Janet say? What's next? So,
but you listened though, Christy, to
yes.
your, acknowledgement. You took our feedback. You were always asking us for feedback. You were always looking for how you could grow and how you could expand and how you could make the program work even better. And and that's a big part of, not saying, okay, this is successful, leave it alone. You continue to say in your own mind, what better? How can I better serve? How can I show up differently? How can I contribute differently? And that's part of what makes this program work so well. Is it is always in motion, energy.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you for that. So I'd love for you to brag on yourself a little bit because you are quite, you were quite accomplished in your earlier career. And now it's like I'm seeing what you're accomplishing in your coaching career and all that you're doing to help hospice and to help people at their end of life. And you wrote your book, which I got the honor of doing a foreword for. And you really bring the whole conversation of energy into dementia. So I'd love for you to kind of share what's been happening for you now. What's your life like now versus before you started the QSCA? And what are you doing?
I do whatever the hell I want to.
Freedom, hello.
My life is wonderful. I still have all this amazing family, and they just keep growing and expanding and learning, and that's wonderful. But that inner side of me says, what is next for me, and how can I show up in ways that either becomes a role model or that I just keep learning and doing in my own life. And the hospice has grown. Through that, I started interviewing hospice people at the end of life. And then I would give that to their family or to them to share after they were gone. I would interview then friends who had parents that said, interview my mom or my grandmother or my dad, or, and so there was that interviewing people that were ready to die and then interviewing people that still had much to give and live and, just kind of collecting. That was more legacy work. But then that took off, and it was when I was at your Quantum Success in Business that I was part of your presentation there, and so many people came up to me and they said, where can I buy your book? I don't have a book. Well, you need to write a book. And that was really where that whole process began. So thank you for that. And the book really is about the blending of both coaching and the laws of attraction. And then, what do we do when we get to the end of life? Are we prepared? Are we living in such a way that we don't have those regrets? Because the regrets are the biggest thing that I see, with people when they get to that point. It's like, I wish I would have, I wished I, didn't, I wish I would have said this, or that I need to tell that person I love them, or something. And in that, I realized we don't die just once. I mean, we have that one big physical death, but people, and I see it in coaching, and I'm sure you do too, um, die so many, many times. We die when we're not seen. We die when our voice is not heard. We die when we think we're unlovable. We die when we're not appreciated. A piece of us dies in so many ways. And similar to dementia, they kind of start forgetting and backing off, and it's like they just slowly die piece by piece. And I think, okay, we can diagnose dementia, we can recognize it, we have symptoms. But how many people are going through a similar process and they need that coaching? They need somebody to be able to help them have those conversations, to release some of those emotions, some of those regrets and attitudes and feelings, all
Yes.
of those things, put them in some way that works for them. And that's why I just see the two things coming together, and I see that there's such a demand for law of attraction coaches, but law of attraction end of life coach, because these are people who, especially if they've come through your program, they get it. They
Yeah.
understand what it is, how it works, how to apply it, and then how to live in such a way that life becomes a part of using what they've learned in how they live. I would say when what you do and who you are in alignment, you cannot help but have miracles just flow through you. They just do. And that's part of what I'm seeing now. It's like everywhere I turn, workshops and speaking and more workshops and classes. But a big part of that is also then working with the dementia, working with some of the nursing homes, working with um, just a community,
Hmm.
and think, how do we do that? How do we become difference makers in our communities?
Love that.
One of the things that I came across, Christy, that just totally stopped me in my tracks. There's two numbers. Um, 44 million people are giving care to someone in their life right now without getting paid. These are not the nurses. These are not the doctors. These are people who are taking care of a parent, a spouse, a partner, a neighbor, a child, a friend, someone. 44 million are doing that with no pay. And
Yeah.
you think of what that equates to. And of those, 67% is the number that I've been told in multiple places. 67% of them will die before the person that they're caring for,
Wow.
because they don't learn how to take care of themselves. They don't
Mm.
recognize when they've given too much, when they
Hmm.
don't learn how to ask for help. All of those things that we learn about feelings and emotions, and recognizing when we're feeling a certain way,
Yeah.
recognizing when it's time to say, okay, this isn't working.
Boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And
Wow.
learning to say, I love you, but no, I need help. I need, this, or I need to take care of myself.
Yes.
And all of those things that we learn when we learn how to apply law of attraction,
Hmm.
we learn about abundance. And it's interesting because those numbers just kind of really threw me. And I'm thinking,
Wow.
we're still dealing with the baby boomers getting older. This is still yet to come.
Yeah.
And I think that there's work to be done here. And I need help. I'm inviting your coach
Yes.
to seriously look at end of life work as part of a coaching venue, as part of, how might that work when they are deciding, okay, what do I want to do? Where's my voice? Where might I add value? How does that work for me, and show up in that area?
Absolutely. Well,
Ah,
you've actually spoken about how the energy vibrations work with dementia patients. So I'd love for you to talk about that, since we're talking about, the need for it clearly. But will you share that? We were talking about it before I pushed the recording.
well, I think, and I learned this by going through it and then observing it more afterwards in my hospice work. Um, if if I'm somebody who's well into dementia or probably even Alzheimer's, I almost become a container, this vessel, and I pick up the emotions that somebody brings to me. And the vibrational energy that we learn about is so real that if I'm the person with dementia and you walk into my room and you're frustrated because I can't remember who you are, even though you've told me umpteen times, I
Right.
cannot remember whether or not I've had breakfast this morning. I can't tell you what day of the week it is. And I can just see you're getting frustrated. I can feel it. And you're anxious. You're probably angry that it's all being dumped on you and you have to deal with me as I get older if you're my child or something like that. But whatever you're thinking, you're bringing in. And I feel that. And I might not be able to know my words to pick my language to express myself. I might have this range of emotions that's just bouncing all over in here and I'm confused. And I pick up what you bring in and you get it back tenfold.
Mm.
And if I'm working with a family with dementia where I can help, let's say the wife has dementia, and I can help the husband understand when he walks in the kitchen and here there's milk all over the floor because her cereal bowl just dropped or she dropped the whole thing or whatever that is. If he can just, even if he has to just turn and walk away and just get
Breathe.
yeah, but it's only milk. I can clean it up. It's okay. She's still here with me. Whatever those are, and he can come back in and it's like, you know what? Hey, let's go sit down here in the chair. Let's go do something. Move her away from that place. Make sure she's safe, and then come back and deal with it. But she will pick up the energy either way. And if he's upset, if he's anxious, if he's fearful, if he's wondering, what's to come and how much longer am I going to be able to take care of her, she's picking all that up. And then her behaviors and her action and everything just comes back with that, and that's not what you want when you think, okay, well, how would it be more helpful before you walk in that room? It's like, okay, just let your stuff go and understand you're choosing to bring in the emotions that you bring in. And when you can say, hey, hi mom, how are you? Oh my gosh, look at the birds today or the sun or whatever, and it's like, oh, you're compliment them on their dress or their hair or whatever you think they might remember. The nice thing to know about people with dementia is, probably with all of us as we get older, the amygdala holds that long-term memory, that part of our brain, and it remembers prayer and it remembers music
Hmm.
and the association with that. So those feelings that are tied there many times can be so calming for us to remember, you know what, turn on some of the music, turn on something that they like, bring back some of those memories that way using, or prayer. It's like, mom, would you like to say a prayer with me? And when they're acting up and no one can get them to do anything and they've just hauled off and hit someone or, whatever those issues are that come with dementia. And it's like, you know what, how does that prayer go? And you can literally bring them right back to that place that says, okay, yeah, and it's calming. So
Hmm.
knowing some of that stuff really makes a difference on how we show up, and it helps them, figure out that they are still valued. Because even at that point, without the words and the language, they want to know that they're lovable. They want to know that they're worthy. They want to know that they matter. All those things that we want all along in our life. And so I think that that's really important. And when we can learn to deal with emotions and as coaches to learn to identify and articulate your own value, in a way that sets you apart as a coach, I think that's really important.
Beautiful. So let me ask you a question. If you were to see the Janet in 2008, what would she say to you about what you're doing and the difference you're making now?
No way, I'm not doing that.
I mean, did you honestly think this was possible back
because
then?
because I wouldn't have had the tools, the skill set, or the emotional, the understanding of how this is some of the most rewarding work. People say that all the time. It's like, how can you do that?
Hmm.
How can you interview people as they're dying? And I thought, are you kidding me? When I was doing it strictly as volunteer, I would say, this is the best job I've never gotten paid for in my whole life. Literally, people show up and I get to learn and observe and change and grow. And and to do that in a way that is aligned with me. It feels right. It feels natural. You know, I've never been one that says, I need the money or I need the success. I've been there, and you know, success is relative. It's what do you want to pay for what you want to get in many ways, and especially when you're in that world that, you know, works with those laws. When you come into law of attraction and you understand your ability to create miracles and otherwise, um, you're never you're never overcome with worry and fear ever in the same way, because you know there's a reason for this. There is something to be learned here. There's a reason, there's a way for me to expand. There's, you know, what is it that I'm here to learn or to do or to be differently? And even when you start worrying about your children, you know, you think,
Yeah.
they're okay. They have the energy they need for their lifetime. It's different than mine, much different than my parents or grandparents, but it's like you learn to accept that, you know, even in the crazy world, and it's been crazy many times, we go through these cycles and we think, oh my gosh, you know, it's never been like this before. Well, if you pay attention to history, it's been like this many, many times
Yes.
before. And it's a cycle, and it allows us the opportunity to decide how we want to show up, to choose what we want to focus on, to be, you know, those people that are bringing that love and that care and that concern in ways that are beneficial, you know, that make us the difference maker. Because
Absolutely.
everything that I've learned about emotions helps me kind of, I'll say, compartmentalize, but to look at these different quadrants and to see how our emotions and our engagement overlap. You know, if we can be dealing with certain emotions, and we can be anything from the angry victim to the person who's showing up in no matter what they do, and they make a difference. They just see that there's another way, there's a better way, there's an easier
Absolutely.
way, there's that aligned way. And
Yes.
yeah, and so that's the difference. It doesn't matter if I'm out in my sewing room or embroidery, or if I'm doing something in the yard, or if I'm doing this work with hospice, or, you know, any of this. Um, it just all feels good, and that's the nice thing. When I wake up, it's like, thank you for this day, Lord. You know,
Mm,
you start with gratitude and appreciation, and I think you learn that's a choice that we all
yes.
have. That is
Free
a choice.
will.
And yeah, all you have to do is get a couple hours into your day and realize it's not going well. And it's like, oh, you know what? Rewind. Start
Reset.
over.
Reset
Yeah.
button. So I love this discussion. I could talk to you all day. So you're gonna get, I know you're not gonna let me put it this way. You're gonna give a special and we're gonna put it underneath the video of your book. Can you explain what that special is?
Well, there's actually a couple.
Oh, nice.
One directly for you. Yeah, I want it. One book is just for all the coaches who want to schedule a session to articulate their values, to really come and say, okay, you know, how might this work for you? And it might not, but even if it doesn't, how do they articulate their values in such a way that they show up, you know, in their world? And that's really for those who are a QSCA coach. So that first value is, or offer, is for those people who've been either a student, or they're in your course now, or they've taken one of your programs. Someone who already understands what it's like to create their own future, their own destiny in there.
And
Yeah, so
where do they go for that?
if they contact me and they mention this podcast, it'll be a one-time 30 to 60-minute session. Normally it's $297, but your coaches will receive the discounted price of $99. And
Okay.
I do that for many of the things that I do for the coaches, whether it's mentoring or otherwise. That discounted price, I'm going to say, will be good for a whole month. Program airs, so we can just put that in there, you know, if it I'm not sure what date it's going to air. So all they need to do is contact me and mention, you know, Christy's April podcast offer, and they'll have that.
Perfect.
The other one is a gift, and it's just a free gift for any of your listeners today. That's a printable file of the notes for now. And that's one of the tools that's in the book. So if they buy the book, they'll have it there. But this is a printable version of it that they can download, they can print out on paper. And this is really something about celebrating. And, you know, we have celebrations of life, but the problem is most of the things that I see in the paper where they've had a celebration of life, the person has died. This is about doing the celebrations of life while those that you love are still alive. And
Beautiful.
It's a real nice, very, I say valuable because I've seen it work in celebrations. And so if all they need to do is print it out, and they can begin celebrating and honoring those that they love while they're still alive. So that's for all of your listeners. Anyone who purchases a copy of the book and they mention the word Christy, and wherever they purchase it, all they have to do is, you know, just email me. It's like, I bought your book.
I'll put your email and the link underneath the video. And I'm just so, it sounds weird to say I'm so proud of you because but I am. It's like to see where you've come and how much you've transformed and to see what you're doing and the impact that you're making. It's amazing. And I'm grateful for you and all the what next and all the support that you gave the QSCA and the students inside the QSCA for all those years. And just great pleasure to call you a friend, Janet. So
thank you always. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you. So let us know what you're taking away. We'd love to hear what you're literally what are you thinking about? What are you feeling from this this interview, from this podcast? So let us know what you're taking away and how this has impacted you. And have a great week, everybody. Appreciate all of you. Bye. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought. Leave me a comment below and be sure to share and tag your friends. And be sure to check out my other videos here and on this site.